Welcome into College Football Smothered and Covered. My name is Barrett Sallee. I really appreciate you checking out the show live here late on Wednesday morning. So if you have comments, we are live on YouTube. We are live on Rumble. We are live everywhere. Twitter, Facebook. So if you have any comments, please leave them in the comments. I'll try to address them as quickly as possible. If you are new to the show, this is a revamped edition of SEC Smothered and Covered, which was very successful from 2016 to 2018. And unfortunately and unceremoniously, it was forced to shut its doors. Still not happy about that situation, but it is what it is. We're here and we are ready to cover the entire world of college football. Today's episode, we are going to talk about the dark horse teams that could make a run for the college football playoff. And of course, it's a little easier now with 12 teams, but we saw TCU do it a couple of years ago in the 4-team version. So we will have a lot of teams that will sort of dance on that fringe. And so I will give you the top 5 that I think will happen in 2024. Reminder, this show brought to you by BetOnline, your number one source for all the NBA and NHL playoffs this season. Every stat, every matchup, live odds, prop bets, everything going on while the games are being played. And when the game's over, head on over to the online casino, of course, and get a game of blackjack or poker. Unwind with over 150 slot games on BetOnline. Head to the website today. Get in on the action right now. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE. That is BLEAV. Promo code BELIEVE. BLEAV. And you'll get a welcome bonus of 50%. That's right. 50% on your first deposit. Use the promo code BELIEVE. BLEAV. BetOnline. The game starts here. All right. Let's get into some power rankings, right? Let's get into the top 5 teams that I see could make a run at the college football playoff. And there are a lot. And we'll start with the Tennessee Volunteers. And Vol Twitter, I know that we have a love-hate relationship. Yes, I thought it would take a little while for Josh Heupel to build Tennessee into a contender. I was wrong about that. I was right about what happened on Shiano Sunday. I had your back. I think myself and Andy Staples were basically the only 2 people in new media, and I guess I was in traditional media at the time. Andy might have been too, actually. But we had your back. So, Vol Twitter, love-hate relationship. I love you right now, because everything from a personnel standpoint sets up for Tennessee to make a run. First off, of course, Nico Iamaleava. And I think there are a lot of people that look at Nico and say, oh, God, here we go again. It's just like Joe Milton last year. Nico has a great bowl game, and suddenly he's going to win the Heisman Trophy. Now, I don't think Nico is going to win the Heisman Trophy, but I do think that he's more Hendon Hooker than Joe Milton. He's got the upside. Last year with Joe Milton, we saw what he was at Michigan. We saw what he was in his first 2 starts at Tennessee before he got benched for Hendon. People who thought Joe Milton was going to be a superstar were kidding themselves, or they had orange and white glasses on. You can have orange and white glasses on when it comes to Nico, but it's deserved. He can run. We saw that. The upside is there from a passing standpoint, and the system suits him very, very well. But it's not just that. The receivers are all over the place. Now, sure, we have Squirrel White and you have Brew McCoy if he's healthy, but you supplemented those 2 with a good group that can take pressure off not only the rest of the wide receiving core, but also the rushing attack, which is, we'll see what happens there. But what makes a dark horse team a dark horse? It's the right mix. It's the right balance. It's how to play complementary football. You know who can do that is Tennessee. because the offense is going to be lights out. I don't care who's taking the snaps. Josh Heupel's going to find a way to get it done, right? So what do you have to be defensively? You have to be adequate. That's how you play complementary football if you're Tennessee. James Pierce is one of the best players in the country. That defense can get after you. They create havoc in the backfield, and that's all Tennessee needs, right? That's all Tennessee needs in order to make the college football playoff. Now, winning it is different. Winning it is definitely different, but getting there, I would not be shocked if Tennessee was maybe that fourth team in the SEC that contends for the playoff. Because I think it'll be Georgia, Texas, and Alabama. I'm sorry, Ole Miss. Alabama and Tennessee, I think, are on that brink. I think they're on that in that tier together because there's no blueprint for what Alabama's going to be without Nick Saban. But Bama at home. We saw what happened 2 years ago when Bama visited, and that was a really good Bama team. Now, you look at Tennessee's schedule, yeah, they got Georgia, and they got to go to Oklahoma. But would you rather have Oklahoma or Texas if you're any of these teams that are traditional SEC teams? You'd rather have Oklahoma. It's true. So a 10-2 Tennessee team gets in. A 9-3 Tennessee team with the right 9 and maybe more importantly the right 3 gets in. Now, winning it is a much different story. All right. Kansas State. Like the Big 12 is going to be phenomenal this year. You're looking for the best conference in terms of interest on a week-in, week-out basis. Exciting games. It's the Big 12. Last year, it was the Pac-12. This year, it's the Big 12. So we're going to go Kansas State. And the reason we're going Kansas State is, one, upgrade at quarterback. Avery Johnson is phenomenal. You saw him in the bowl game a little bit, but he fits exactly what they want to run. Except he also has elusiveness. He can run power. He can complete downfield passes. He can take off between the tackles, but he's elusive. Now, when you compare or combine that with what they also can do from a running back perspective, DJ Giddens, they get Dylan Edwards from Colorado. You put those two together in that backfield with Avery Johnson, that Kansas State team is going to be hard to beat because you go back and look at what Dylan Edwards was last year for Colorado. He was a big part of that 3-game winning streak to open the season. But what was he? A receiver out of the backfield. So that offense has a ton of options all over the place. That offense can be absolutely lethal, especially in a Big 12 where the schedule for Kansas State is not that bad. Let's look at their big opponents. Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Kansas. All at home. They don't have Utah on that schedule. Yes, they have to replace some folks on the offensive line, but the middle of that defense has been boosted by some transfers. And it was already pretty good. And now you add more to that mix. So Kansas State is going to be a lot of fun. All right, some questions that have come in on the comments. And if you have comments, we're live. It is 11:34 a.m. Eastern time. If you have some comments, drop them in. I will address them, sort of drop them in as the show progresses. And Greedy Grandpa, what's the biggest upset hot take? I'm going with Alabama over Georgia. I don't think that would be that big of an upset. Georgia's going to be favored. There's no doubt. But I can't see Alabama over Georgia being that much of an upset. Now, would West Virginia over Penn State be an upset in week 1? It's in Morgantown. But we're talking about a Penn State team that's probably going to be a top 10 team. West Virginia is probably going to be a fringe top 25 team to open the season. I don't trust Drew Aller. I do trust Garrett Green. We'll talk a little bit more about West Virginia coming up in a little bit. But that's one upset I could see, and that could drastically change not only the direction of both of those programs this year, but especially change the direction of Penn State moving forward. All right, next team we want to talk about is a dark horse. Hokie, hi, Virginia, VPI, Virginia Tech, Hokies, Brent Pry. Look, if you did not watch Kyron Drones last year, a marvel of efficiency, only 3 interceptions, and basically started the last 2/3 of the season-ish. Monster through the air, very efficient, a boss on the ground, and now he's had a full offseason as the unquestioned starting quarterback. And so you're going to see Virginia Tech in these preseason top 25s. They're going to be 20 to 25-ish, maybe, in terms of where they land. But the mix, the recipe is there for them to pop off because you have an ultra-dynamic quarterback. You've got a defensive line that through the transfer portal has been supplemented in a big, big way. And in the ACC, that is, I think, a bigger deal than maybe it is in the SEC or the Big Ten. But you look at the returning production, and you see these numbers. I think it was Bill Conley did it for ESPN. Now, I'm not the biggest S&P Plus guy, but Bill does a great job with returning production. Something like 94.8% of returning production. Now, I think that can go both ways in terms of how you look at it, because that and also returning starters, which Phil Steele puts a big impact or puts a big emphasis on. Okay, you have X amount of returning production and you have X amount of returning starters, but did they suck or are they good? Well, at Virginia Tech's case, they're good, most of them. So in an ACC that is down, Virginia Tech seems like not only is it on the rise, but it doesn't have to figure itself out. And that's a big, big deal. You look at the schedule. No Florida State, no Louisville, no NC State, Clemson at home. We know Lane Stadium's a tough place to play. So Virginia Tech, to me, look, are they capable of winning the college football playoff? No, absolutely not. There's no way. But could they get there? Could they win the ACC? Could they make the ACC championship game with one loss? Yeah. If you're a 2-loss team, you're in. I don't care what conference you're in, at least Power 4 conference. So Virginia Tech, keep an eye on the Hokies. Speaking of Hokies, go to breakingt.com/smothered and covered. breakingt.com/smothered and covered. You can get a shirt like this. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. Lane got loud. This is from 2021, Blacksburg, Virginia. It's a great picture of Lane Stadium. This is one of those viral moment shirts. Comes out right after a game. Breaking T does a great job of that. breakingt.com/smothered and covered. You can also get some great shirts just celebrating your team, celebrating your college, celebrating legends of the past. So go to breakingt.com/smothered and covered. They have you covered. That's where the moment starts. Breaking T. All right. Moving forward. Miami fans, I hear you. Now, I don't necessarily believe that Miami will be what a lot of people think, but I've been wrong. I'm wrong a lot. All right? I'm wrong a lot. I'm an idiot. And if I'm wrong about Miami, specifically Cam Ward, look out for the Canes. Because Cam Ward's a stat monster, right? He's a stat monster, a very good stat monster. And when you look at this offense, there's a lot to be excited about. Now, the running back depth took a little bit of a hit, but Martinez comes in, and we'll see what happens with the injuries and Fletcher and things like that. And you've got a pretty experienced wide receiving core. The upside, I don't know. We'll see. It could be really good. Offensively, there's a lot to be excited about if you buy into Cam Ward. I don't, but I could be wrong. And then defensively, I think Miami is going to be fine, just fine. But a good Cam Ward with a Mario Cristobal who learned his lesson from a time management standpoint equals dark horse. I wouldn't even say dark horse. I'd say legitimate playoff team. So Hurricanes fans, I know you're going to hit me up and say, oh, you're a hypocrite. Look, yeah. I mean, I am. I'm being devil's advocate right now. Because I do think if I'm wrong about Cam Ward, Miami's going to be a beast, man. They are going to be a beast. They get FSU at home. They get Louisville on the road. The out-of-conference game against Florida to start the season doesn't look nearly as daunting as maybe it did when that contract was announced. And I'm still a believer in Mario fixing himself between the ears. At some point. Now, is that point now? I don't know. If it is, and Cam Ward becomes what maybe a lot of people thought he could be, and NFL scouts seem to think that he will be, then look out for the Canes. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate. Admittedly. But it could happen. There's no doubt. SEC Unfiltered. You demand, Barrett. Keep up the great work. I appreciate it. You do the same. So go to SEC Unfiltered. Follow them on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else. YouTube, all that stuff. They do a great job over there too. So appreciate that from SEC Unfiltered. Last one. Last team. West by God, Virginia. We had Neil Brown on this show about a month ago. So if you want to see that interview, go back. He does a great job explaining a little bit about his philosophy, how he turned things around last year, and where this program can go moving forward. And it can go to a college football playoff. Win it? I don't know. Get there? Yes. Big 12. We already talked about it with Kansas State. The Big 12 is going to be just an absolute mess in every possible way, in every single great way. Cannot wait to see the Big 12. And West Virginia has a quarterback in Garrett Green. If you don't know who he is, look him up. And you see all these Pro Football Focus previews of some of the best quarterbacks in the country. You're going to see Carson Beck. You're going to see Quinn Ewers. You're going to see Garrett Green. And you will see Garrett Green if you go look him up on a lot of these top 10 lists. A monster through the air, pure dual threat, weapons all over the place. A new quarterback coach who, according to all reports, has helped him take the next step. And a schedule that is not daunting. Got to go to Oklahoma State. Got to go to Zona. Okay. Stillwater's tough. I'm not sold on Tucson all that much as a home field advantage, A, for Arizona, and B, we don't know what that team's going to be. I don't think they're going to be exactly what they were last year because of the coaching change. But you're talking about a 10-2 West Virginia team. Could you see that? Because I can see that. I absolutely can see West Virginia going 10-2. And does that put them in the Big 12 championship game? Maybe. Does it put them in the playoff? Yes. It actually might be better if they don't make the Big 12 championship game and hit that clubhouse with a 2-loss, 10-2 record. That will do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Really appreciate you checking out this show. The show, of course, brought to you BetOnline. By BetOnline, the game starts here. Go to betonline.ag. They've got all these bonuses for you. Use the promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V. That's B-L-E-A-V. And you'll get a 50% welcome bonus from the folks over at BetOnline. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. Until next time, have a great day. Have a great night. Have a great morning.